Hi, everyone, and welcome to Dimensional Wellness. This is DeeDee, and I am so glad to be here with you today, exchanging some energy, child. The Astrals and just right now in general is such an interesting time. I'm actually doing this in real time. Today is December 6th, so I'm going to be talking about something that in real time, like as far as like within like the last 2 months, because a lot of the dreams I talk about are like all over the place. And I've said this in another one, but I'm going to say it again because everyone doesn't hear, all of the podcasts and stuff like that. I usually don't talk about the dreams that I'm having like right now, because when you start writing them down, you start really paying attention to them. It takes time to build up on what the dream is actually talking about. And so a lot of the dreams I actually had on a previous podcast on, Anchor FM. And then they switched everything one day to Spotify. And so I'm redoing a lot of the podcasts that I put on there because I don't have the stems. It's like a whole story, but whatever. But a lot of them are like older dreams that I've had that even though they're older, I'm still learning more about them 3, 4, 5 years later. It's actually really wild. And now even today, I'm learning so much stuff and I'm like, oh my gosh, this world is so tricky. But I'm going to talk about some of those things at another time. But today I'm going to talk about something that I have been experiencing like within the last 2 months or something like that. You guys, Sagittarius season, I'm not sure when I'm even going to post this, but I'm posting it in Sagittarius season. And if you are also Sagittarius North Node, maybe you can resonate with this because I'm a Sagittarius North Node, but I also have stelliums in Sagittarius, y'all. And it is a lot, especially on the spiritual front of things. And like, of course, it's a fire sign. So like rage and, and not like I have like, crazy problems with like anger or anything like that. But just like managing the amount of BS and tomfoolery that's going on the planet on mental levels. Like there's so many levels to reality and it is so chaotic. And a lot of it is like put into place by these gods and goddesses and angels and, all of these constructs. And a lot of it is like really messed up. A lot of it is really messed up. So this is what I'm going to talk about today. And this I'm going to call, which is so funny because I don't know if I'm actually going to call it that. So I was going to call it like ops in the astrals, but I don't want to use that term because I know ops is like, I don't know. I think that's like a gang term or whatever. And I'm not associated to any gangs or nothing like that. Never have been, never will be. Like I'm not a part of any of those, organizations or whatever they are. I don't know. But this is going to be talking about backlash from trying to do positive things. Okay. And this is so important to say because the dream realm, the astral realm is such a tricky place. It is such a tricky place. And it's almost like when, like you're growing up, right? And you see these movies and TV shows on TV and they're giving you like snapshots of, let's say, characters' lives, right? But there's no one that's actually commentating or narrating on kind of the direction of how you should be looking at these movies and TV shows and things, right? It's just kind of up to whoever's interpretation. So we have young kids looking at movies and TV shows and stuff like that, especially ones with consistent, backgrounds and pretty much the same kind of structure. I can tell you right now, so many people, especially on the relationship front, that like they have certain TV shows that they like. And I can tell because their life is actually that TV show. Or I know what movies they like because their life is actually that movie. And me too, I'm not excluding myself from that. Me too. And I'm not saying that movies and TV shows and, concepts and stuff aren't helpful because they are. Especially when we see our reflection of our lives in certain things. However, the kind of negative aspect of that is that some people it takes a lot longer to get to the point to where you're actually looking at the movie and reviewing it and being like, okay, this is how it ends. And then what is not being said here? Like, I'll give an example. Like a stereotypical romance movie, right? Let's take a stereotypical romance movie. Some woman who's either, you know, quote unquote, a nerdy woman or a business. We'll take the nerdy woman, okay? Because nerdy also has like implications of virginal, has implications of naive, you know, not hip to the world of sex, right? And so, like, they'll put her into a scenario where she's focused on, you know, rules and, you know, focused on, you know, doing the right things at her job and doing all the, you know, X, Y, and Z and blah, 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 whatever, right? And then they'll put her in the pathway of, like, this devilish type of energy, right? This devilish type of energy, right? And obviously I'm choosing this because this is how I started out. Unfortunately, this is how I started out. Okay, so they put her in the path of this devilish energy, right? And it takes you a while to understand that the devilish energy started off like the nerdy girl. He probably started off like as a nerdy boy. And then, you know, to use a certain term, he got turned out into a reality that was saturated and oversaturated with this sexual energy. And so now when he sees people like him, he devours them and makes them like him so that to a certain extent, he doesn't have to go back and review how his life actually went, right? And so unfortunately, when you are naive and you don't know a lot of things, then you easily get placed into situations that don't actually mark your value, but it would be very easy to devalue yourself, right? So he'll take a nerdy girl who maybe grows up, you know, a certain religion or with certain, you know, restrictions on them and stuff like that, and then turns them into like a party animal, a sex vixen, you know, blah, 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 or whatever. And so by the time she gets, you know, from the light side to the dark side of reality, and she has time to really observe and absorb all the things that she has done experiencing this dark side, then she has to like go and review life, right? And at that point, when you're weighing the light and the negative, a lot of people can devalue themselves on the things that they have done in the dark, even though they started off in this quote unquote naive or unaware state, right? And so then people go through a spiral. They go through a spiral of, you know, taking on more darkness because they can never get back to the light, right? Which is fake. It's not real. It's a lie. And so it takes a while for people to not only like see those movies and then see how it's played out in their lives and then go back and start reviewing life as a whole and then dissecting the parts of reality that are influencing you one way, that's influencing you another way. And then going back to, a part where you were quote unquote unawakened and then looking at those actions and forgiving yourself for just not knowing. Do you know what I'm saying? And so then eventually you get to another layer of reality, which is like what I'm starting to really, in a sense, be inducted into, child. And so I'm getting to that part of reality now where I'm starting to get the pushback from these, let's say, energies, right? And we'll just say energies in general, because I'm going to say this and then I'm going to like actually get into it. But I'm trying to set it up like consciousness it's a thing that you experience, but then you also have to get ahead of it to be able to predict what's going on so you can be consciously involved. And that's how you start to get, you know, ahead of your subconscious, ahead of your unconscious, and then the collective unconscious that is also impacting you. Okay. So anyways, you get to a point to where you realize that we're all on this planet Earth, and at the very basis of it, and I know some people might be offended by this, and I understand that. So like if it's, you know, if I say this and like it's really offensive for you and like it wells up in your chest and you're really upset about it, then I would just like save the video for later and come back. Like real talk. But like if you've gotten past this part of it and you're like, yeah, that makes sense. Okay, this is for you. Okay. That means that every single deity, god, goddess, every single one that you can think of is a part of the problem that's on the planet. There is no Most High God. And there might be a Most High God in the sense of like, you know, there's some energy that has more push, more pull, more influence than all the other creatures, gods, goddesses, spirits, or whatever. But as far as morale on the planet, they're all still working on it. There is no Most High in that sense. Like, you know, and I'm giving you a very simple example. I'm going to pick on Archangel Gabriel for a second because I have not had a positive experience with him except for one time. A lot of the angels, quote unquote, angelic beings. Okay. I'm going to pick on him. People are like, oh my gosh, Archangel Gabriel helped me with this and helped me with that and blah, 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 blah. But then when you look at like, you know, more traditional areas where these angelic, quote unquote, angelics, I'm talking about in the form of angels came from, which would be like the Middle East right now. There's a lot of babies out there that are not being saved. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, I'm a Christian and God's the only way, Jesus is the only way, and we're waiting for the second coming and blah, 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 blah. But the area where this actually originates, supposed to be the cradle of civilization, is on fire right now. And I'm talking about spiritually, morally, and everything. It is on fire right now, right? And then some people be like, oh, okay, well, that's only because they're not in the Jesus club. That's because they're not in the, you know, whatever religion club. But if you are following this God's X, Y, and Z rules, then your babies will be protected. I'm like, well, that's because you live over here in your faith and you're not actually in the homeland in your faith talking about that, because you probably would be on fire with them right now. And that is just the truth of the matter. Now, I'm not saying there are certain people that, you know, haven't gotten out of it and, you know, have narrowly escaped it. But when we're talking about a family, which unfortunately some people don't care about family like that. I remember I had this one person who was telling me that, you know, if you don't believe X, Y, and Z, then your family is going to hell. And then their family didn't believe X, Y, and Z. So I was like, okay, so all your family members that have died, they're going to hell. And she was like, yeah. And I was like, okay. And like, are you fine with that? Like, are you good with that? Like, I don't know. Like, it's just over for them, right? And I was like, okay. And that statement of her being like, they just went to hell, I'm like, okay, that tells me that you had a dysfunctional family. And you know what I'm saying? Maybe if someone were to ask you, do you love your family? You would say that. But I know that, like, if I really genuinely felt like any of my family members were going to hell, like who I have a good relationship with, I'm gonna be specific about that, because unfortunately some people that, you know, it's a toss up. But like if like I thought that any of my people like were going to hell, I'd be moving hell and high water, and I would fight God himself to get them out of it. Do you know what I'm saying? It's a tricky reality. So let's get into this thing, okay? Because this has to do with things that are going on in the world, okay? So there's a particular night that I got really, really upset about what was going on in the world. And I was like, you know what? Nobody seems like they are really taking the initiative, which of course that's like an anger thing, right? Because of course there's other people around the planet that also are thinking like me. You know, you can't be like so egotistical to think that you're like literally the only person on the planet. That's not true. So I know there's other people on the planet and stuff like that, but I'm like, okay, we need to like really come together and really figure this out, because there are babies being hurt, and that's not okay. And so I put it in my head, and I was like, okay, we're going to do this now. So I'm using like my mental imagery and sending mental energy over here. And what I start doing is like, I start grabbing people's souls. That's what I start doing. Like just in the middle of them doing whatever, I'm just grabbing souls, grabbing them. Like just in the middle of what you're doing, you're just going to pass out and your soul is mine. Okay. Taking them. Okay. Now, these are what I consider to be bad people. Okay. And so I create this like, you know, Gulf space in the cosmos. And I'm like, you're going to the Gulf and you're going to be there with other souls, all these souls doing all these things. Y'all can go fight with each other. I'm not sparing religion, nothing like that. Everybody is getting the same treatment. If you're doing X, Y, and Z, you're going here. Okay. And then I started setting age parameters. Okay. So then I was like, okay, we need to create like a gray space. So, younger people who are being indoctrinated into these things, they're going to go to this space, but they're going to go to a different level. So they're not with like the real crazy ones. You know what I'm saying? And so I'm doing this all while I'm sitting in my kids' room, like, getting them ready for bed, which was not a great idea. And some of it you learn trial by fire, right? And so I'm like, you know what I'm saying? Because I'm like, it's crazy what's going on and it's absolutely unacceptable. So I'm like, I need to do it now. So I'm doing this while I'm putting the kids to bed. And then I sit down while I wait for them to go to sleep. And I'm continuing to do this imagery in my head, right? Now, in the middle of the night, the first thing that happens that I thought was interesting is as I'm creating this space, there's an energy that mentally comes up to me. And he was like, you don't have authority to do that. And I was like, well, whoever is saying that I shouldn't be doing this is probably somebody that needs to go ahead and get their behind in this gulf. So you go ahead and tell me who's got the authority over this space and who's got authority over these cosmos and what I'm doing right now. And you show them to me so I can go ahead and snatch them up and put them over here too. And so that spirit kind of backed off, right? So I'm like, okay, thank you. So then another spirit came, and this spirit was the spirit of a black cat. And this was a very specific looking black cat at that. Where is he coming now? Hold on. Well, we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about that later. Because that spirit came and it didn't seem like it was like saying too much. It was just kind of hanging around. And so anyways, I ended up falling asleep. And in the middle of the night, I have one of my children. She's very, very sensitive. She's a very, very sensitive child. And it's good because it kind of keeps me in line with like what I'm looking at and what I'm focusing on throughout the day because she can pick it up. I didn't really understand the gravity of like how your kids really like are like you. But she's an avid dreamer like me. And so I'm like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. And so, but she's doing this now, whereas like I didn't get to this until like in my 20s. Do you know what I'm saying? So I'm like, oh my gosh, there's so much stuff that I don't want you to be open to yet because you're still so young and I don't want you to pick up on this stuff. But unfortunately, this was one of those nights. So she runs in there. She's like, Mom, oh my gosh, I can't believe this. I had such a horrible dream and stuff like that, right? Now, I'm an avid dreamer. So my kids come and tell me stuff about their dreams or they tell me about, weird feelings that they have in the house or, especially if they feel like, anxiety before they lay down or something, then I know that somebody is in the house, some energy or something is in the house. Right? So, some people, they might brush it off, which I do not recommend if you have young kids because they are very, very open and receptive. I wouldn't brush it off, especially the dreams that they have. So anyways, the interesting thing is that she came to me and she was like fretting, she was crying, she was really, really upset. And so I was like, sit down and trying to calm her down. I'm like, okay. And then I actually asked my daughter to tell me everything that happened, even the scary parts, and I kind of hold her hand. I kind of reassure her like, you're safe right now. You're awake right now. You're in this reality right now. And so let me know what happens, right? Because as we talk about it, I'm also, letting her know in a sense that like you got through it. Like you didn't die, even if you got eaten or swallowed by something or whatever, like you're still here. You still are right here and mom is right here. So like that's not the end of it. Do you know what I'm saying? Because a lot of the fear is like we can't see past that moment and then you don't realize that you got past that moment. And so the next time it might happen, you're desensitized to it because you know that, like, in a sense, things go on. And there's ways that you can maneuver really, really traumatic things. So she ended up telling me that she saw me. She was like, I saw you and you were killing kids. And I was like, what? Now, of course, I was telling you that that I was actually, well, I don't know if I actually said that, but, I was actually trying to, like, help out over in the Middle East with just kids in general. So I was particularly grabbing people that were harming children and, like, innocent people. And so I actually was doing the facets of what they were portraying to her in the dream world. And so what really actually took me back though was that when I told her to like really focus on like me and what she saw, she told me that she saw me and I had these long tusks coming out of my face, and that I had these curved swords. I kid you not. I had these curved swords, these long tusks, and I was standing with Miss Trenchbolt from Matilda, okay? And she said that there was also like a school and there were teachers and stuff, and all the teachers were like eating kids and killing kids and all different type of stuff, and it was like very gory and stuff. And I was like, okay. And so, you know, this is like a moment where which I'm also saying, you know, if you're a parent and you have kids who have very vivid dreams, stuff like that, you know, quote unquote imaginary friends and stuff like that, it's really good to be actively seeing like what they're talking about, what their dreams are talking about. And you know, just like I recommend to everyone who hears it to write a dream journal and like keep track of it, I also would say that for parents, you know, writing down your kids' dreams as well. So anyways, you know, she's getting really, really worked up, and I could see that it was impacting the way that she was looking at me, until I was like, well, you know that like mom doesn't kill kids. She was like, I know. I thought it was weird that that's what they were saying. And so she was like almost saying like she had to like escape from this place that we were in because they were trying to kill and eat all of the kids. So I was like, what in the world? So of course, you know, I'm like a QHHT practitioner in the making. I'm still like a level 1 intern, but I've been actually stepping away from QHHT and really, that's like a whole nother video, but you know, I've been really trying to study into just like the world of the unconscious and the subconscious, which the dream world definitely gives you, you know, insight into, to actually know, you know, get some reference points and stuff to what I'm even looking at and how to interact with certain energies and stuff that comes through, because I've not been getting people that have just like simple quote unquote potato lifestyles, you know, where they're just like living and then their life is just about, you know, ease and stuff. I'm getting people that have like some wild stuff going on. And so I've been like kind of focusing more on that, and I've been trying to focus on, you know, the actual skill set of how to actually get someone under, which I know that I think people have been telling me that they get that in level 2 and then level 3, and I don't have the $3,000 to do level 2 and 3. So I've been just trying to work through Scribe, some pamphlets on Scribe to try to get that information, okay, as I'm trying to work through lucid dreaming and work through child, it is a lot. But the Capricorn in me is very, very persistent. And I will, as long as it takes to get the foundation down, I will do that. Because I don't like to half step when I'm doing something. So it's cool. So anyways, so I didn't put her through a full QHHT, but I was like, okay, I'm recognizing that she's very worked up about this. She's very emotional about this. And of course, that's a very gruesome and crazy thing to see. And I'll talk about that form in a second, which is like, you know, crazy, because even she specifically was like, you know, I was like, okay, well, was I wearing anything? She told me I was wearing a red bracelet, like a ribbon, actually a red ribbon on one of my wrist, and that I was wearing a conch shell necklace, which is also super significant. So I'll get to that in a little bit. So anyways, I put her through like a light visualization where I introduced her to a safe space. You know, we dispelled some of the anxiety and things that she was looking for. And then I pulled in a consciousness that could explain to us why she was having this dream and why it was so gruesome, pretty much. And so this consciousness came forward, and it let us know that it was reminding me that... Now, I'm saying that it was an op because it didn't have to say it in this way. That's why I'm saying it's an op. Now, it's a valuable lesson and a valuable reminder, okay, because I also could have done it in a different way. But I'm saying it's an op because of the way that it gave the message. How you give the message is essential. And that it gave her the dream instead of giving me the dream directly. So anyways, that's why I'm saying it's an op. But anyways, so we got to talking to this energy, and this energy pretty much let me know that from a higher up perspective, they're all considered kids. And you are not going to win a fight by fighting with them. And so me and this energy, we went, oh my gosh, this person has Baby Yoda on the back of his, the back of his motorcycle, you know, this energy of like this, you know, wise energy or whatever, which I still think that they need to be doing more. But anyways, this energy was like, you know, they're all considered kids, and your motivation for putting them in this thing was basically for them to fight to the death, which definitely was my motivation. I was pretty much like, y'all are gonna all go to this golf and just be there with yourselves until you like slice and dice each other up enough, and then like you're tired enough. Oh look, Hia on the back of a car just now. I see that on the back of cars so much, HEA, so much. And it's so interesting how even out in 199, interesting. It's so interesting how out in Arizona, there's some license plates that I see so often. I see HEA, which is Ia. Hia is the Assyrian version, I believe, or Syrian version of the name. Ooh, sorry if that's not correct. Ia, Inky, I see that pretty frequently. There's a lot of people, especially like, I find this very interesting. Not everyone, but I have noticed this, that I see Oya a lot on cars, and most of the time it's like either rich white people, you know, I won't say like super rich because I don't know their bank accounts, but they usually have like Lexuses and stuff like that, like really, really nice. Oh, look, a little Yeti. Oh my gosh, wait, that's so funny because there's a white Yeti on the back of this car. And what is on the back of their car? Norex. Okay. I usually see Oya on the back of the car. Like I said, it's usually like really nice cars, like, you know, Lexuses or something like that. White people still though, you know, and I mean, white is a crayon color, but, you know, stereotypical white people, you know, lighter skinned people with less melanin. Or it's like white people with like white pickup trucks that you just know that I'm like, you couldn't have picked that on your license plate, because we picked our license plate. I picked our license plate. I'm like, you couldn't have picked that on your license plate. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know you didn't pick that on your license plate, but I've seen it at least like 3 or 4 times. It's so interesting. Okay. Anyways, back to what I'm talking about. So anyways, that was pretty much what he had to tell me. It was a male energy who, pretty much from what I understand was Azazel, or connected to Azazel in some type of way. And he was letting me know, like I said before, that my intention for sending them there was not a good intention, and it would be also killing mentally children in a different way, right? Because I'm not like slicing and dicing them up, but I am containing them to an area. And then also he was like, you're not really taking into account what's going to happen to these kids, these small kids who are left by themselves if you literally just snatch the souls out of these bodies. Excuse me. And so maybe like on the new moon or something like that, especially in Sagittarius, which rules like, you know, higher wisdom and, you know, higher thinking, maybe I'll like set an intention to work with that energy to be like, okay, well, come and give me some suggestions, because, you know, doing nothing in my book, which is never nothing, but, you know, is not working either. Okay. So let me get to the last part of it, which was this version of self. So a few months back, I ended up having a remembrance that I have a Dakini aspect. I was visited by a Dakini. We danced together, and in that dancing, I transformed and remembered myself also as a Dakini. I've seen Shambhala, which to me is what they're depicting as like Agartha, which also kind of looks like Atlantis as well. Oh, look, Naya is on the back of a car right now. Nya, Naya. That's interesting. Which the Shambhala thing is really interesting too. So what I mean that it looks like Atlantis and it looks like kind of how they picture Agartha, and also a little bit how they picture was that Olympus and Hercules, where it was like this floating kind of, really magnificent city, and it was like an island situated on like a circular thing of land with all these high buildings and things like that. But I definitely was not trying to go back to Shambhala. Okay, so I don't know what the hype is. I don't know if that was just my personal experience. But do I want to talk about that? Let me see. Like, is that something we want to talk about real quick? Okay, we'll talk about it real quick. Okay, so in the scene of Shambhala, so this was after I got this Dakini remembrance. Okay, oh yeah, wait, let me finish that first. Okay, let me finish that, y'all. Okay, the Dakini remembrance. Right before I had that dream, it was probably like 2 days before I had that dream, there was a warthog that came to me in a vision, and he was just staring at me, and I realized that when they're just staring at you, like it's a telepathic, almost like download of information. And so like, even though it's really awkward, it's like downloading something to another aspect of you. So when I'm like staring at an animal or I'm staring at a person, I know that like I need to pay attention to them because they're giving me like a download of something or an upload of something, probably more of an upload, an upload of something that like has a time dilation to it. So I'm not going to get it immediately in that moment, but to pay attention because something about that is going to be coming up, and when I see it again, it's going to be extremely significant, right? So I saw the warthog and I was like, that's not an animal that I usually see. I've seen like a warthog like over a year ago. And it was, like a warthog kind of boar situation. And he was coming out of my phone to like protect me, and I didn't know exactly what it was connected to, but I was just like, okay, cool. So this time he was just like in my visual field staring at me, which is very interesting. And so anyway, so I had the Dakini dream, and then I was the black Dakini, okay, which I think is usually pictured as blue sometimes. And so I was the black Dakini, jet black. Oh, like Stitch. Oh my gosh. Somebody just posted today about, so there's a woman that I listen to sometimes. I'm gonna definitely give a little disclaimer. Her videos have a lot of profanity and stuff like that. But, when you can see somebody's intentions and stuff like that, I just overlook it because I can see, like, where she is in life. And she seems like a really good person to me. Especially because she talks about, like, her past and, like, how she has worked herself from that. And I really, really admire that. I like people who can be like, I messed up in the past and now I'm on this journey and I'm not perfect, but I'm here. So anyways, her name's Empress Lillian, and she posted today about something and Stitch, and I was like, oh, Lilo and Stitch is coming back up. That's a whole nother dream, but I just saw Stitch on a car just now, so I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna have to go back and listen to the Capricorn reading again because I must have missed something and it must be connected to what I'm talking about right now. So anyways, so the black Dakini, and that is supposed to be an aspect of Vajra Yogini, and Vajra Yogini sometimes has and is pictured with a sow face, which is a warthog like face. Okay. And so I was like, oh my gosh, that's why the warthog showed up. And so when I pictured myself, because then I had like 3 or 4 dreams with Kali back to back, and it was specifically Kroda Kali. So she was telling me to basically make my own emanation of Kali, my own reflection of her, so that I would know that we are connected, and I have a identity aside from her, and we are working together versus me invoking her and, whatever. And so I was like, yeah, well, the first thing I'm going to change is definitely, and then I said this like in my mind and I pictured this. I was like, first thing I'm going to change is I'm not walking around with with a necklace of skulls around my neck. So like, pick something else because I'm not doing skulls. And so she offered a necklace of conch shells. And so I was like, okay, cool, I'll take conch shells. So I saw her with the tusk. I saw her with the scimitar, which is connected to the dream about the reindeer mother. So if you haven't heard that, that is essential, the reindeer mother, which that is where I first saw those Aladdin type swords. They're like these big, huge curved swords. And I ended up having a dream about that even before I saw it with Rowanitsa, which I'm gonna have to find the original dream that I had about those swords, because I don't remember what that dream was about. But then when I saw that Kali also has a scimitar, which is a traditional Arabian sword, I was like, oh, that's interesting. And so anyways, I'm going to get into the Orisa connection to the Dakinis and stuff like that a little bit later, but I do want to briefly talk about Shambhala right quick. So in the Shambhala visualization, I ended up seeing myself, and I was not alive anymore. And there was like this big, huge black bird. I can't remember if it was a raven or a crow. And I know that his name was Maris, like Stella Mari. And before that, they had told me that I was connected to, so I didn't know that I'm connected to Metis, right? The first wife of Zeus that's like eaten and, you know, blah, 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 whatever. Which I believe also is Metis, which would be Medusa. And an earlier form of her is pre-Greek society and civilization, which probably would stem back in some type of way to Newt or Neith. But that's a whole nother conversation. But anyways, and they told me that I was also connected to a Titan named Varus, with a V, and they're like, that's also Maris. So Varus is connected to, like, I think a black raven. I think in the Celtic tradition it would be Bronwyn, the sister of Bron, which is connected to Brian. There's a lot of connections, but anyways, I was not alive, and this big old bird was bringing me to Shambhala. Now, I knew that the secret of this specific bird, which was either a crow or a raven, and I'll put it down in the description bar when I go back and do the timestamps and everything. I knew that this specific bird was sent to come and get me, dead or alive, because it had the ability to, using Egyptian terms, grab your ba and your ka. And so even if the body was not alive, it could still grab your spirit. So I was alive in spirit, dead in the body. And it was bringing me to what I immediately recognized as Shambhala. And why it was bringing me to Shambhala was because there's something about, like, which I've seen this in a dream before too, which is connected to Patrick. Some of these videos I put on private, but I'm probably going to make them back public. But I think it's connected to this being Patrick. And so anyways, they were like bringing me back to Shambhala to like stand trial for not marrying someone that they wanted me to marry. And not marrying this person, I didn't continue some blah, 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 or whatever like that. And so they wanted to try me with the laws of Shambhala, blah, 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 whatever. And so, which I had seen a dream about this before, that I was like supposed to marry some person or whatever, and I decided not to. And he like finally found me, and yeah, he was not happy about it, to say the least. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, to say the least, he was not happy about it. So I'm like, I don't know why everybody's, you know, trying to, I mean, even when you read, like, I'm not trying to, like, say anything bad about anybody's religion or anything like that. I'm just posing a thought. When you look at some of the traditions, and like Chode tradition, which is where they talk about, Trauma Nagmo, or is it Tragma Nam? I think it's Trauma, like trauma almost. Yeah, Nagmo. I think that's how you say it. The black raffle one, the black Dakini. Like some of the ways that you like chop up your body in all these crazy ways and like feed it to these entities, and it's supposed to be like getting rid of your identity. It sounds crazy as hell. I'm not gonna lie to you, it sounds crazy as hell. When I was reading it and they're like, yeah, so now how you connect to Kali is this meditation. In this meditation, you're going to picture yourself being chopped up like lettuce and then feeding it to the gods. And that's how you know that you are, saying that you don't have any connection to physicality. And so now everything can be added to you. Like, this sounds crazy as hell. I'm not going to lie. It's crazy. And no, and absolutely not. So anyways, I just wanted to talk about that. But I will be back later to talk about, there's something else I said I was going to talk about later. But anyways, y'all, I'm going to be back later on whatever I was talking about. I forgot, but I'm going to have to listen back. Okay, friends, make sure that you like, comment, subscribe heavy on the comments, especially if you have had dreams that also connect to these things, or visions, astral travel experiences, whatever it is. I would love to hear about it. I do want to start dialogues about these things, and we can like put the pieces together, even if it's like in contrary to what I'm saying, because we do live in a multiverse, and we're living where there are constant Mandela effects. And so I'm hoping that we can all come together and kind of figure out these nuances and things like that, because it's definitely in the details. All right, my friends, so that's what I have today. Sending you guys all love and hugs and consciousness and awareness in all spaces, in all realities. Bye. Okay, I'm going to add a little bit to this. This is actually February 11th, and it is 10:31. It is Halloween numbers right now, which I find very interesting. And so today, I've actually been writing February 11th down for a while. Like, I know that I was going to be getting some interesting information or something on February 11th. And so I got the feeling to actually post this today, and there's a lot that's been coming up. So I'm going to also talk like very, very briefly, and I might do like a part 2 when I get more information about everything that is popping up right now. But one thing that I do want to say that's been coming up is that this is all also surrounding. So in the Hindu tradition, I think this is like a good thing in general just to pay attention to, is like what things that you really, really resonate with in general, especially in the different mythology stories, right? So there might be certain energies that we really, really connect to, that we really, vibe with, that consistently come up in our life. So in the Hindu pantheon, definitely the black Dakini comes up a lot in this path to the Dakini. And I think that I did mention that was a pretty consistent dream that I had in December, in November, with these energies coming up. So I saw Kali about 4 or 5 times. I definitely saw the Dakini. And then there's another video I'm going to post about absinthe and fairies that also talks about the Troma Nagmo. Now they call it something else in Hindu, like these 3 black mothers, but it's all connected to each other. But anyway, so in the Hindu pantheon, there's 2 energies that I connect with the most. Well, 3. I'll say 3. So, of course, the first one that I have to connect to is obviously my name is Chandra. And so I would connect to Chandra, the moon god, which from personally what I believe is that it's actually candy or shandi, which is what we find in chandeliers, chandler, what we find in names with these similar things is that they're connected to moon concepts. Which there is a definite connection between these Hindu deities and also African deities. So we have like, I can't remember exactly what it's called right now, but like, oh my gosh, what is that called in Africa? The mountain of the moon is called Chandra something. But a lot of the time when we're talking about these moon energies, we're talking about the light of the moon. A lot of them are connected into Soma or Homa, which is like the immortality drink, like the Hesperids and the golden apples, this elixir of life. And a lot of the time, also Shange is also connected to this Chandra concept. Shange, the Japanese, is it Japanese? Ooh. Moon goddess, who actually talks about being from the moon, not just representing the moon, which is connected to Shango. I know it's a lot. But anyways, I of course connect to that concept. But the other two that I connect to really strongly is Saraswati. And then the last one that I really connect with is Rama. Rama is supposed to be one of the avatars, I think the 7th avatar of Vishnu, which I have a really close relative of mine that passed away, who actually passed away on Vishnu's day of reverence. That's what I'm going to call it, reverence. I'm not sure what the correct terms are. And so Rama and the story of Sita. And in the story of Rama and Sita, Sita gets like stolen by this demon or whatever, Ravayana, okay? Ravayana, I think that's how you pronounce it, Ravayana. And when she gets stolen by this Ravayana, of course they can't find her. And he's supposed to be a boar deity, like a wild boar. Now, it's very interesting because there's, I don't want to get into like everything because there's so many things that are connected, but I do want to tell you that I'm not sure exactly in what type of way, but I do know that the Sita is connected to Thor's wife as well, Sif, the golden-haired one. I'm pretty sure they are directly connected to each other. And so I just wanted to put that because when you have a lot of these imageries of the Dakinis and they have the boar faces and they have some other faces, I of course focus more on the boar face. We're talking about this kind of culture where they were, in a sense, reflecting this kidnapping of Sita, where they were, in a sense, their legacies and legends were, in a sense, kidnapped by masculines. And instead of them being able to stand in their own as Dakinis and gods and goddesses, they began to be, what's the right words? They began to be defined by the masculine energies. So we have the Dakinis and the Dakas, which are the masculine energies. But then if you go back and read on Orisa, in Odinani, I'm probably pronouncing that wrong, but that's how I hear it in my head, Odinani, which is the land of the Dakinis. I'm gonna post some links. Then you see that these were all female energies, and they were not defined by any type of masculine energies, and that they were indigenous tribal deities and entities, especially among the, what do they call them? I was about to say Denisovan, not Denisovan. Oh my gosh, what is that? Oh my gosh. What is that doggone? Oh my gosh, what are the Dravidian. So I personally believe that Dakini comes from a Dravidian word, and I think that Dravidian language is also where we find the keys to Ishka in the Bible about Saraswati, and Abraham, who could be a Brahmin, and then this unidentified person that they believe is Sarah, who is Ishka, where we get the name Jessica from. I believe that that also was a Dravidian word, and a lot of information on that's probably what we can find in the Dravidian language. So I just wanted to say that, a whole bunch of random stuff, but I think that it like helps, especially if you're having dreams and stuff and information, to know that all of these things are connected, and it's even connected to jinns in a different type of way as well. So because like in reality, everything just kind of comes up the same, and it can be very, very difficult to like kind of put everything together. Like, okay, what is this talking about? Why is this coming up? Why is this coming up? And it's really been fun. It was confusing for a very long time, and I'm still getting the hang of it. But most of the time I find, which makes sense, that everything is connected to each other. So even though it's like seems super random, you're like, why is this coming up and why is that coming up? And it can kind of take you for loops. It's because they're all connected. We just connected Hinduism, Norse mythology, African mythology, and Japanese mythology all at one time. That they do have common threads that run within them. So I just wanted to say that, my friends, and I hope that you're having a good time listening to this. Hopefully the astrology right now is being nice to you, and I feel like February has been it's definitely been interesting, but it's been relatively calm though. All right, my friends, bye.